Here we are going to discuss how to plan for risk management process for the organization or for a specific project. We have to find who is participating in this process at the very beginning. Planning, meetings, and analysis, that should include the project manager for sure. He is the one who should have the most knowledge about the project, and he has his strategies about the project, and he can put kind of a strategic risk management uh, plan for the risk management in the project. So he must be there. We have to select some team members and stakeholders. The stakeholders might be from the team working in the project, or from the users of the project, or from the customers of the project, or the neighbors of the project, or maybe who are experts in the industry related to the project. So not all the team who are involved in the risk management processes must be working in the management team or the technical team of the project. They might be from outside the project, but they must be kind of stakeholders. They have some relation to the technical issues, to the financial issues, to the implementation, to contracting, to supplies, and so on. Also, anyone with responsibility to manage the risk planning and execution activities. That's again, usually they are team members. Most of the cases, these people who are responsible for the risks, or who are risk owners, in most of the cases, they are team members. Whether we are talking about managerial issues or technical issues, they must be working in the project, or at least they might be kind of contractors or suppliers or outsourced experts and so on. So, but they could be considered as stakeholders, as team members for the project as well. But however, all the people who are participating in this process, planning for risk management, are stakeholders, are project stakeholders. They have some impact on the project, or the project has some impact on them. So there is kind of mutual relationship between the team who's working in this process and the project itself. What is to be included in the risk management plan? We have to include the methodology. The methodology that we are going to use in our risk management for the project must be included in this process. Roles and responsibilities. Who is responsible for obtaining the identified risks? Who is responsible for the analysis of the identified risks? Who is responsible to implement those analysis? Who is responsible to identify the possible responses for that? Who is responsible for the implementation of the responses after that? Who is responsible for monitoring the identified risk or potential risks that might be in the project? And for sure, who is responsible to make auditing for the process of risk management? All of those roles and responsibilities must be set aside during this process of planning for the risk management. We don't care about the names. The names are not important, but the positions and the roles are most important in this phase. We have to find out who will be responsible for what. And the names could be available now or could be available later on, depends on the activity distribution and the activity ownership that we have in the project. We might not have all the persons or all the manpower that we have in the project available right now. So we might wait until we have those people available for us, and we can allocate them for the roles and responsibilities that we have assigned in the plan. We have to set budget. We have to set budget not for the project. We have to set budget for the risk management process that we have to do during the life cycle of the project. If you are talking about a $1 million project, we don't have to put like $100,000 for risk management. In this case, maybe we don't need to have risk management in the process, because this project will have the owners who will be responsible for the risks. But if we are talking about risk management team, we are talking about hundreds of millions of projects, or maybe billions of dollars project. So in this case, if you are spending like $100,000 over the risk management process, we will save more than that. or at least we will get value more than that multiplied by big number. So in this case, the budget depends on the stake or the value or the budget of the project itself, depends on the risk we have in the project, depends on our experience with this project, depends on the complexity with this project, depends on the novelty of this type of projects. All of those need to be considered when we are putting the budget or setting the budget for the risk management process. Timing, timing to prepare the risk register, timing to identify risks, timing to analyze the risks, timing to prepare the responses, timing to revisit the risk register to be visited each day, each week, each month as needed. So all of that need to be included whenever we are talking about timing. Categorization. What are the categories that we are going to set the identified risks? We have to set like few pots of categories, and each single identified risk must be allocated for a specific pot, for a specific category. So there is no specific standard for the categorization. Depends on the type of the project, depends on the risk management team, depends on the industry, depends on the organization, the performing organization or enterprise. All of those might control the distribution of different categories for risk identified, potential identified risks. Also, we have to set the rules. We have discussed that before in the previous video, that we have to have a scale for the probability and for the impact, especially when we are making kind of qualitative assessment for the identified risks, like relative scale, very unlikely, almost certain, whatever. We might have kind of numerical values, which is very, very, very approximated, like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.5, 1.5, 5, whatever the numbers. It could be below 1, it could be more than 1. But keep in mind that these are just kind of quantification for the qualitative values that we have. But these are not real numbers. So these are not probability, but these are kind of ranking for the probability. And that's as long as we are still in the qualitative process. If we moved into the quantitative phase, in this case, we have to set those numbers are a very approximated number. If we are probability 0.1, that means we mean the probability is 0.1 or 10%. This is the start. Risk responsibility chart. Out of the plan, we have to set something like this. This is just an example. Again, whatever we are talking about in this course, we have some examples to show what is meant by the standards that we are talking about. And even the standards are project standard or enterprise standard. It is not industry standard. It is not a project management standard, and so on. So in this case, for example, we have planned risk management. Who is responsible for that? It will be the top management, the project manager, and some of the management team. Who is responsible to identify risks? Top management will not be involved. The project manager will be involved somehow, but the management team, the risk owners, will be the main personnel to consider the identification of the risks. Perform analysis. We have project manager involved, management team, or the risk owners we have. All of them will be participating in the analysis. So the risk owner, usually, he is the one to know what to do and when to do and how to do. So the risk owner in this case must be available for the assessment and analysis of the identified risks. The risk responses, again, the same team will be there, and the risk owner must be there because he is the one to monitor the risk if it occurs or not, and he is the one to implement the risk response if it occurs. And finally, we have to make kind of control to the risks. We have to assess the implementation of the project responses. If they came up with a result, a better result, they reduces the threat, they improve the opportunity that we have as the target out of that response or not. If it is not, we have to make kind of replanning again. We have to go back find what is the assessment, the new assessment, update to the assessment, and what is the expected response for that, and how can we implement that during the next phase. This is an example again for the categorization, or what is called the risk breakdown structure. Risk breakdown structure is the same as categorization for the risks. In this chart, we have kind of category for the technical risk, managerial risk, organizational risks, external risks, other risks, and so on. So it depends again on the team. They can set this distribution as far as their expertise. For example, what is meant by technical? It is different from a project to another project. What is meant by managerial? It is different from a company to another company. But for example, project managerial for sure includes time and costs for most of the project or all of the projects. What is the authorization of the organization? Like the fund, allocation of the fund, what is the main objectives of the project, collaboration with other entities that we have, collaboration between the different departments that we have, and so on. External, or that means all the risks that's beyond the control of the organization or beyond the control of the project management team, beyond the control of the project team, like whether availability of labor, the politics and regulation in the industry, and issues related to the project, and so